Tatis hit 5 home runs over the weekend. You probably heard about that. But in the haze of that blitzkrieg attack by the swaggering Fernando Tatís Jr., allegations of cheating. Now, I don't know if you saw it or not. Maybe you missed it, but let's focus in on the game Saturday in that weekend series. Trevor Bauer accused Fernando Tatís Jr. of stealing a sign. The Dodger pitcher even posted a video on Twitter that clearly showed Fernando Tatís Jr. doing exactly what he was accused of by Trevor Bauer. He took a peek back towards the catcher just before the pitch, and then amazingly hit a home run right after he knew what was coming. Shocking! We saw a team win the World Series doing that exact same thing. So this has created a firestorm, and there's the usual suspects, the usual players. Who cares? It's no big, not that big a deal. And then there's the, oh my God, this is a war crime. We need to hold a war tribunal. But let us discuss the question. Why don't we start with this? Do you believe that Fernando Tatís Jr. of the Padres, that Tatis was stealing signs? 1,000%, right? 1,000%. I've got law student, principal's office, and teachable. And we will connect all of this together. Now, first of all, even our blind members of the MALLER militia, and we have many, even the blind wing of the party can see what the heck's going on here, right? Blind Emmett to blind Seabass, if he's still around, blind Scott. They can. Fernando Tatís Jr. was playing peekaboo with the signs, right? Peekaboo. And then amazingly, he saw what happened. There's no debate on this, right? And Bauer made the accusation with overwhelming evidence, direct evidence. That is an open and shut case that Tatis did it. Now, we can debate how big that is, and we will certainly do that, but a first-year law student could argue and win this case. Just go to the videotape, as Warner Wolf would say. Only dyed-in-the-wool Padre sheep are trying to argue that that's not what happened. No, he had a bug in his eye. Yeah, he had a bug in his eye. That's why I was looking down. Yeah, right. I mean, please. Go talk to the wall for a few minutes. My God. The evidence is indisputable, and it's just overwhelming. It's just overwhelming. Fernando Tatís Jr. is a great player. He's fun. He's swag. He's more fun when he's hitting home runs against other teams than the Dodgers, but he was pushing the envelope here. He was pushing the envelope, and he got caught. Now, secondly, keep in mind that I have no issue with Fernando Tatís Jr. doing this. The person who deserves to be called into the principal's office is the Dodger catcher, Will Smith, right? Will Smith did a rinky-dink job in that situation. And if you're not going to hit, Will, and you've hit like crap this year, you might want to work on making sure the other team doesn't steal your sign in that situation. Fernando Tatís Jr. is a guy who, granted, we know he will do this now. He will sneak a peek. It is the catcher's responsibility to make sure the signs are not being compromised. In this incident, Will Smith, the Dodger catcher, effed up. He screwed up, pie on the face, right? Now, this does not rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors, because we're not talking about an elaborate espionage scheme like the Astros. What Fernando Tatís Jr. did, while illegal, is gamesmanship. I don't even know how illegal it is, to be honest with you. I mean, you have signs, right? As long as you don't get out the trash cans, the whistles, and the buzzers. Your job as a hitter is to try to decipher the signs, and vice versa. You're trying to get a leg up. But the way you get back at this, and we'll see what happens going forward, but there's a thing called a melody, right? You look at the melody here, and you're like, all right, how do you get back? Well, if Will Smith was not doing a verkakta job of keeping track of where the batter's eyes were, then he would have noticed the eyes glancing down. I mean, watching on TV, you can notice. If you're in the catching position, you should be able to notice that. But had he been doing his job, Will Smith, the Dodger catcher in that incident, then he could have gone to the jukebox there and dialed up a little chin music, right? Drive Tatis off the plate. That should have been instantaneous, right? As soon as you catch the batter looking down like that, and you catch him, and you see the whites of your eyes when you're looking up like that, then that would have immediately pumped the brakes on that activity. But that did not happen in this case, and Tatis, taking advantage of the laziness of the Dodger catcher, Will Smith, ends up hitting a home run on that pitch. All right, final thought here. So in terms of the Padres taking 3 out of 4, the Dodgers coming apart at the seams, they lost to the Cincinnati Reds, which is embarrassing. It's humiliating. It's more humiliating to lose 1 game to the Reds than to lose 3 out of 4 to the Padres, because the Padres are actually good. The Reds suck, and the Dodgers losing to the Reds. But obviously it was a less than ideal weekend for LA. You don't need me to tell you that. But I look at this through the micro and the macro. And if you look at it through those lenses, micro and the macro, short term, this will fuel San Diego, right? Aaron Howard. Congratulations. That's the micro. Long term, the macro, that is a great weekend for the boys in blue. And I'm going to tell you why that was a good weekend. Because the Dodgers bullpen got pantsed. And they're missing some guys on offense right now. The backups suck. The guys that are getting a lot of playing time are not coming through with a lot of hits here. And they got pantsed in front of the entire country. The wheels fell off. And so this is a teachable moment. And really, it's calling out the front office of the Dodgers here. They've got all these blue-chip minor league players I keep hearing all about. They won the World Series last year, blah, 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 blah. But the Dodgers are on notice. If this does not improve dramatically, and I'm talking about the bullpen, which is now suffering through injuries in addition to poor performance and the lack of timely hitting, consistent timely hitting, then the front office needs to step up dramatically, right? And dramatically make a move here. Nobody is perfect. The Dodger bullpen was poleaxed, and the injuries popping up here, there, and everywhere. And they also need some better advanced scouting, by the way. Fernando Tatís Jr., who, watching him against the Dodgers, as fearsome like a barracuda and as lethal as a giant anaconda. But he's also human. There's got to be kryptonite. He didn't do that against the Brewers when the Padres got swept by the Brewers leading into that series at Dodger Stadium. So that's a bad job by the scouting, finding the weaknesses here. There's too many big-name Dodger pitchers that were taken for a ride on the Vomit Comet by the Padres, and there's just no excuse for blowing a 6-run lead, which they did in that game, the final game there that Sunday night. And it has nothing to do with the tantrums and the dramatic outbursts. Hey, congratulations to Fernando Tatís. He's a fine player. He's got the forever contract. He's hitting bombs. He's strutting around like a peacock around the bases. Fine, right? But listen, I can't complain. The Dodgers have players that do the same thing. So I can't sit here and criticize the Padres because every time Mookie Betts does anything, he's shimmering and shaking the whole thing. He's having a great time, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But you've got to do better, right? I mean, put the fire out. And as far as that's concerned, just in general, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that we're able to talk about a April playoff, not even it's a regular season. We think it's going to be a playoff matchup, Dodgers and Padres, the rivalry. But that shows you how important the razzle-dazzle, the razzmatazz is to baseball. That Fernando Tatís Jr. brought that the bad blood, the accusations from the Dodgers against the Padres and vice versa, that Major League Baseball needs that, right? And for all the blue hairs and all the traditionalists that say, no, we don't. We don't want to be like the NBA. We don't want to be like the other sports. Screw you. Baseball needs this. All right? Baseball needs this. And, hey, I'd go out and buy some kerosene. I would stoke the fire here, right? Stoke the fire. There's that old saying in the advertising world and in the the public relations world. Don't pay attention to what they write or say about you. Just measure it in inches. That's all you got to. And the attention that Dodger Padres series got for a regular season early April playoff series, tremendous. And it deserved it. We're talking about several days later. And I'm sure going forward, there's still 12 games left between the Dodgers and Padres that this will pop up yet again.